For more on this, I'm now joined by Behnam Ben Taleblu, Senior Director of the Iran Program for the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Behnam, welcome back to the show. I wanted to ask you first, this new reporting just came out last night that the president is weighing new military options against Iran aimed at doing further damage to the country's nuclear facilities. Do you think he's now moving away from finding diplomatic solutions?
Great to be with you, Marky. That's the million-dollar question right now, meaning what sort of political strategy does the use of force match into or mesh into? Not once, not twice, but actually 8 or 9 times in the month of January alone, Trump drew a red line in Iran because not of the nuclear issue, not about the missile issue, not about terrorism, but because of the domestic situation, because of the humanitarian catastrophe, because of the crackdown from the street against this, from the state against the street, which was historic in the past 47-year history of the Islamic Republic. It's clear that the president is not just the commander-in-chief, he's the negotiator-in-chief. So before the use of force, he's going to offer an off-ramp. But if you ask me, there is no such thing as a nuclear off-ramp to a humanitarian catastrophe.
As I mentioned off the top, you have these Israeli and Saudi intel and defense officials who have now been in D.C. this week. The Israelis are reportedly sharing intel on potential strike targets in Iran. The Saudis are trying to de-escalate. What do you make of that kind of dueling lobbying there? And how much pull does either side have in swaying the president?
Well, I think certainly the buck stops with the president himself. I think the president's been remarkably clear. The real question has been more a matter of timing and logistics. Is this going to be a resumption of the 12-day war if the president strikes? And to what degree is the U.S. going to be involved in the defense mission of not just itself, but U.S. partners and allies in the region? Lest we forget, the Islamic Republic threatened to not just respond against American assets and interests, but also at Israel. And many of those assets and interests are located in the Arab states of the Persian Gulf, whether we're talking about diplomatic facilities, whether we're talking about military bases, or whatnot. So certainly, while there is a different logic to what brings the Saudis and the Israelis to Washington here this time, what will draw the U.S. in is fundamentally the same, and that's the defense of its interests, its security, and its partners.
And Behnam, you and I have been talking about the U.S. military buildup in the region that's been growing with an additional warship now in the Indian Ocean. War Secretary Pete Hegseth spoke about tensions with Iran during Thursday's cabinet meeting. Let me play a bit of sound from that, and I'll get your take on the other side.
The options to make a deal. They should not pursue nuclear capabilities. We will be prepared to deliver whatever this president expects of the War Department.
How likely would a U.S. strike be here in the coming days?
Well, again, I think the timing is up to the president. The president has everybody right where he wants them, meaning both allies and adversaries alike are trying to figure out when the strike may come. But I think it's past this prologue, it's much more likely that he will strike that he won't, because A, he's given an off-ramp, which the Islamic Republic hasn't taken. But B, he has threatened to use force. And if past this prologue, he does deliver, the question is, what will the use of force look like? And that, too, is more often than not short, sharp, and decisive.
We will wait and see. Behnam Ben Taleblu, thank you so much, as always, for your time. Have a great weekend.
Pleasure. You too.
See you next week.